Yeah, hi Nick. Look, I thought I'd just do this video, and then obviously we could have a chat. But what I've done is I've put all the categories down the left, and then I've got DC builders in one column, going all the way down, and Colab build in the other. Um, and I've compared category by category. So you can see PNG, we're actually under um, by about 2 grand, just under 2 grand. Now, carpentry materials and labour. So just to give you a heads up of what I've done here is in our quote, DC's quote, we've got two headings, one being labour, one being material. So what I did on Colab's side is, even though he had broken it down into multiple stages, I combined all his items, which are these, just off to the side, and they are the slab foundation, they are the framing, the cladding, and the interior linings. So you can see that's how. So we're actually slightly more than him of about 5 grand on that, but we're slightly under on that. Now, excavation contractor, I know we had the 15,000, he had 10. Now, sorry, just one other thing is in my column, I've included our margin because Colab included their margin in each of their headings. So to try and get apples with apples, I included our margin in each one of these items, being 15%. So back to the excavation contractor, we had allowed 15 grand, he'd allowed 10. But in order to do an equal comparison, and because they are provisional sums, and I don't want to steer you down the wrong path in thinking that 10 grand is enough, I've made both these figures the same, which is 15 grand plus margin to give it an equal apples with apples, seeing that it is a provisional sum. Block work is the same. Joinery, so the garage door and the single door plus hardware and lock. We are slightly more than Colab, but he doesn't actually mention whether he's supplying a door lock for the single door, whereas we do. Um, Roofing and gutters, that is a massive difference. And I'm not sure what's going on with his price of 12 grand. It's double the cost. And I'm pretty confident on our price being 6 grand or 6-1. Electrical provisional sum, I've done the same thing. So we are 9 grand including margin. He's 3 grand including margin, which again, I've balanced out as being equal to give you a more apples with apples comparison. Painting, pretty much bang on. Drainage, about the same. Waterproofing, now this is interesting. We've included waterproofing, whereas he has no allowance for waterproofing whatsoever. So I can't really put 0 on his side because you are going to need it. So again, for comparing apples with apples, I've made his column the same as ours. And that's the subtotal. Now, this subtotal does not include any fence work and any boundary retaining walls or anything like that. It's solely to do a comparison, apples with apples, for the items that we have both priced. So this again excludes any fence work. We have allowed a provisional sum of 2.5 grand for the side fence just to tidy it up. Whereas obviously he had a price of 19,500, but we can't really compare that. I think it's best to say at this point between DC and Colab, there's no fence work allowed, and that way you can add that cost in later on when you actually get something a bit more certain than 19,500. So I guess at the end of the day, subtotal, we are pretty much the same. We end up we're about $800 odd cheaper overall. So when you compare apples with apples, yes, there are some things that he has totally missed out, like waterproofing the block walls, and very low provisional sums on electrical and excavation. But when I make his figures the same as ours for those two items, when you compare the rest across the board, we're about, yeah, like I said, we are, well, I'll tell you exactly what we are. We are, overall, we're about $824 cheaper. So that's pretty much where that is. Nick, I'll send this to you. If you've got any questions, happy to go through it with you. That's pretty much it. Thanks, Nick. Cheers.